Hi everybody, thank you very much. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. and welcome to another classic movie review. I'm talking about a movie that came out in 1984, an action comedy classic starring the great Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop. There is a new movie coming out, I believe, in July on Netflix. Saw the trailers, got very excited for it because I'm a fan of these movies. Yes, I even enjoyed the third one, even though I admit it's not up to par of the first two, but first one is a classic. The second one I enjoy a lot too, but the first one for me is one of the best comedies of all time. And Eddie Murphy is awesome in this movie. He was in Trading Places and 48 Hours, co starring with other actors in his first two big films, but here is the first time that he showed everyone that he could lead a film all on his own and does a fantastic job in this as Detective Axel Fole. This was directed by Martin Brest, who would go on to direct one of my favorite Robert De Niro movies, Midnight Run, came out in 1988. Another one of my favorite Al Pacino movies, Son of Woman, came out in 1992. Also directed 1998's Meet Joe Black and 2003's Gigli, but we don't really talk about Gigli. But this is an awesome movie. You got Detective Axel Foley at the very beginning of the film is undercover trying to bust these guys that hijack some cigarette trucks. Going to the movies as a kid, whenever I would sit in a theater and during the trailers, if I saw that Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson production logo at the beginning of a movie trailer, I would always get super excited. And those movies were always the ones to watch out for. There were usually big summer releases like Con Air or The Rock or Armageddon or Crimson Tide or Enemy of the State, or sometimes like December releases like this movie was. This movie came out in December of 84. It was the highest grossing film of 1984, beating out Ghostbusters at number 2, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom at number 3, Gremlins at number 4, The Karate Kid at number 5. So 84, stacked year for classics, and Beverly Hills Cop made tons of money that year. It was a huge movie. So Beverly Hills Cop tells the story of a young Detroit detective, Axel Foley, and early in the film, Foley reconnects with an old friend played by character actor James Russo in the role of Mikey. And Mikey ends up dead, and now Foley wants to find out, of course, who killed his friend. And things kind of point to Beverly Hills, and so he kind of has to pretend like he's going to go on vacation, even though he's really going to go check out what actually happened to his friend and find out why he died. Not very long after his arrival in town, Foley looks up an old friend, Jenny, who works at an art gallery in Beverly Hills. She's played by actress Lisa Eilbacher, who I think does a very good job in the part of Jenny. And at the art gallery, we get a classic scene between the character of Axel Foley and a character called Serge, played by Bronson Pinchot, who a lot of people remember fondly as the character of Balky on the old sitcom Perfect Strangers. Steven Berkoff was one of those character actors that played a lot of baddies back in the day, and usually if you saw him in a movie, you knew he was most likely going to be the bad guy. So I'm sure that people who went to go see Octopussy, the 1983 Bond film starring Roger Moore, I'm sure they had a feeling that this guy was going to turn out to be the villain since he was one of the main villains in Octopussy. But yeah, Berkoff is awesome in this film, always very eccentric and very much a standout. And you also have, of course, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks is one of those character actors that popped up in so many movies and TV shows playing a cop or a villain or a goon. And I'm really glad that eventually he did get some kind of recognition with his turn in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And here he plays that classic goon that he was known for a lot back in the 80s. And there's a great scene between him and Foley where there's a little altercation, but it really sucks because this scene should have been better edited because you can really tell you're looking at a stuntman because they leave the camera on the stuntman for way too long because Jonathan Banks basically gets flipped onto a table and onto the ground. He gets all messy and stuff with food. It's a very good scene, but I really wish they would have edited that scene better because every time I watch it, it always looks like a really buff Richard Pryor taking out Jonathan Banks' character. A lot of the comedy in this movie comes out of the situations that Foley gets himself into, but a lot of it also comes out of the way that he gets himself out of these situations by using his wit and his intelligence, very much being a classic detective at the same time, having a bit of style and flair as he goes about his business trying to investigate the murder of his friend. And it's really great to see how he infiltrates a warehouse by using other people's stupidity against them. Eventually, Axel Foley makes his presence kind of known to the Beverly Hills Police Department, and once they know about him, they kind of want to make sure that they keep tabs on him to make sure that he doesn't do anything too crazy. And you got Taggart and Rosewood following him around town. The majority of the scenes with Eddie Murphy's character Axel Foley, with John Ashton's character Taggart, and Judge Reinhold's character Rosewood are some of the best scenes in the movie because all three of these actors have tremendous chemistry between all three of them, and they're so great to watch. Very, very funny stuff, especially the scenes between Taggart and Rosewood alone in the car on their stakeouts. And then you get all three of them together, it's even better. Besides that very brief moment in the scene where Foley has an altercation with Jonathan Banks' goon character, where we see Eddie Murphy's stunt double, which was probably Richard Pryor's stunt double. Besides that, the direction in this film from Martin Brest is damn near perfect. It's perfectly paced, great action, great comedy. Not only that, but we have a great music score by Harry Faltermeyer, who also did the music for 85's Fletch with Chevy Chase and also Top Gun, also did the music for Tango and Cash in 1989, and here he has one of the catchiest tunes of the 80s. It's the kind of score that is unforgettable. Once it gets in your head, it's never leaving. It is there to stay, and it's not even a bad thing. It's actually a pretty kick-ass tune. Also in the film is a very young Paul Reiser, who back in the 80s was an up-and-coming stand-up comic. In this movie, he has the small role of Jeffrey, a cop that is a friend to Foley, looks up to Foley, but he's kind of a pest. He's pretty funny here in the role of Jeffrey, but one of my favorite little moments in the film is a little blink or you'll miss it moment with Damon Wayans, who of course would later go on to stardom in Living Color and have a movie career of his own in the 90s. It's one of the most rewatchable movies of the 1980s, which is probably why it's such a classic. It was written by Daniel Petrie Jr., who was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay for the film, which is why this movie still holds up very well because of that very strong screenplay. Beverly Hills Cop from 1984. I give this movie 4 stars. If you like action, if you like comedies, if you like Eddie Murphy, give this one a watch. It's an Eddie Murphy classic. I'm very sure you can find this movie on streaming because it's still a very popular movie and it does have sequels that are definitely worth checking out. I love the second one as well, but the first one has a special place in my heart. 1984's Beverly Hills Cop. This is my copy of the Blu-ray, and as you can see there, you got a very young, like 23-year-old Eddie Murphy, basically. Yeah, it's not the original cover, but still pretty cool cover for the Blu-ray. But yeah, Beverly Hills Cop, classic action comedy from the 80s. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into movies, if you're into this kind of thing, if you're into the classics, please hit the bell and subscribe. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps me out. And if you're a supporting viewer, thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate you. Take care of each other. Peace out. God bless.